Kevin Sorbo, producer, director and actor in God's Not Dead and Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist comments, Revelation 9:11 is an exhilarating ride. This book is unbelievable, a tour de force, the passion, the explosive insights into what is really happening today. I couldn't put it down. Pastor Paul Begley and Troy Anderson are prophetic voices for this generation. Anderson is amazing in his investigative analysis of things happening today, and Pastor Begley's revelations are incredible. It is, without a doubt, the prescient narrative of our time. Prepare to be captivated by the mysteries and prophecies unveiled within its pages. Get ready to embark on an unforgettable journey of spiritual insight and revelation. Don't miss out. Grab your copy of Revelation 9:11 now and delve into the depths of prophecy like never before.
You start out, if you could tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, Troy, I didn't come to Christ through the traditional means. My dad was Buddhist and kind of an atheist. I grew up an atheist, and I met Jesus in my 30s and transformed my life forever. I had just finished directing a film for Universal Studios, and I went to the Philippines to sort of celebrate, went to strip clubs, gambling. And in fact, I think I gambled my entire director's fee in one night of blackjack in a Filipino casino, and then went and, drank, went to strip clubs, came back to my hotel at the Shangri-La, and I just lost it. And I realized, there's no happiness in this world. And I reached in for a Gideon's Bible, and the Gideons has had me speak, by the way, because it's their stories are amazing, and I cannot thank Gideons enough. But their questions in the front of the Bible is what turned me to Jesus and got me on my knees. It wasn't the Bible itself. Where are you going? Where are you going when you die? Christ provided a sacrifice for your sins. It all made sense without actually reading the Bible. But here's the thing. You don't, and this is the thing about evangelism, you share your testimony and then they read the Bible, of course, later, and they understand it and grasp it. But I did try reading the Bible as an atheist. I couldn't get through Leviticus, Numbers, it sounded very ancient. And but it was the questions that were so disrupting in my life as an atheist that I said, I have to come to know Jesus. And of course, I've now gone through the entire Bible, 12, 13 times, with a fine-tooth comb. But it was the questions that led me to Jesus. And that's what my wife and I, when we evangelize through a personal testimony, it's we're not taking out the Bible and showing them Leviticus. No, we're just telling them about what Jesus did for us and how it transformed our life. And we've never been the same. And I've now been walking with the Lord, over 22 years. So it's been a wonderful, awesome blessing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's hard to follow those 636 laws in Leviticus. That's a little difficult.
Well, you do, but you grow with food, like the Apostle Paul says. But I think you can start with milk, and that's exactly what we did as we grew as Christians. And the Bible's very daunting for somebody who doesn't know anything about the Bible. It's just you're seeing like a code in mathematics that you can't even understand if you've never passed algebra. So but once you do, you see everything falling into place. And how Ezekiel 38, of course, is applying to Ukraine and Russia, possibly, and it's just an incredible prophecy that you're seeing just unfolding before our very eyes. And COVID-19, of course, I believe was part of the end times, when Jesus said there will be pestilences, which is diseases that will go throughout the whole world. And I don't believe that the Black Plague was worldwide. So, these are things to just sort of be excited that we might be living in the last days. And so appreciate you, Troy, and Pastor Paul. You guys are, getting the word out that we're in the last days. You're like Noah, and trying to tell this Christ-rejecting world, man, the ark is filling up, and so you guys are at the forefront of this need to get the gospel out before the Lord's return. and it's coming. It's coming. You can feel it. One pastor friend of mine said, you can feel it, that it's imminent, and so it's exciting for us, but it's also scary to think about our relatives, loved ones, friends not making it. It's very sad, but they had every single opportunity God has given them. He takes no pleasure in throwing the wicked into hell. So, it's just our duty to share the Great Commission. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. How did you become interested in Bible prophecy?
Bible prophecy, the first church that I went to as an early believer was Calvary Chapel and Costa Mesa, and of course Chuck Smith. Those were the days when they had a service every day. Chuck Smith, he had one on Monday. I think it was John Corson, and then Tuesday was, it was somebody else. Joey Baran was Saturday, but there was always, and I was there. I went to Calvary Chapel Bible College, wow. And they said, Tim, you've taken so many classes, you should at least get a degree. I said, no, I don't need one. I'm just here to learn the Bible. I'm not here to get a certificate. But I went almost every day. Went to Calvary Chapel Bible College 3 times a week, and I was really fed well. Chuck Smith, of course, he baptized me in Laguna Beach at Pirates Cove. But Calvary Chapel is one of the few churches that's into prophecy, that's into the last days teaching, word by word. So, I think anyone who studies Bible prophecy should be indebted to them, because especially when you go around, I've been to 40 countries with my wife, and we did Epic Journey for Daystar TV, and everywhere I go, the ones who are really attuned to Bible prophecy know the Bible. The other ones go, oh, rapture's not even in the Bible. Well, okay, look, it's okay if you're post-rapture, mid-trib, it's okay. But not to say rapture is not in the Bible. It means that it tells me you really haven't studied Bible prophecy regardless. Now, you could be a post-whatever, tribulation, but to not know that the word rapture is actually, caught up in First Thessalonians, and whatever, harpazo in Greek, rapturos in Latin, but they're not studying the Bible. And so most of the times when I talk to my, I have a very, very good Christian friend of mine who is a best-selling author, and we had lunch together, and he said, Tim, he goes, I'm a panmillennialist. And I said, a panmillennialist? I haven't heard that one. I remember pre-post, what is a panmillennialist? He said, everything's going to pan out. And I said, you know what? I said, okay, man, you think that way. But, I don't like to do that over lunch with my good friends. But when you think about it, it's very clear in First Thessalonians, do not be ignorant at times you're in. And Jesus said, look up for your redemption draws near. So these are all indicators that we should be prepared. The parable of the virgins having their I don't think that's, hey, when the master comes back, everything's going to pan out. Don't worry about the master coming. It'll all pan out. I don't subscribe to that. Just sort of laissez-faire, whatever, Sarah, whatever. I don't subscribe to that. And I think we have to be prepared. And I think the Bible is very clear that we should be prepared and ready. So again, to answer your question, Troy, yeah, Calvary Chapel, I'm indebted to, because they went line by line, and they talked about Bible prophecy early enough in my walk with the Lord. And when I attend other churches, and I've spoken at, many churches, Presbyterian, some charismatic, I find it that it's sad that they're not teaching line by line, or they're not teaching end times prophecy, and they don't even touch one verse of the book of Revelation. One of my pastor friends hasn't ever taught from the book of Revelation, and I think to myself, what is going on here? There has to be some teaching of the end times, and it's scary, but it's not. And when I first tried to tackle it, it was a very complicated book. But now it's broken down perfectly, and as you and Pastor Paul are doing with that, it's the schematics are incredible. Chapter 1 to 3, he's outlining what's happening in the churches, and then whatever it is, I forgot. 4 is the rapture. 5 to it is the great judgment. And then we're all seeing Jesus again in 22. And people who don't believe in the rapture, it's unexplainable how 4, he brings us up. And then during the judgments, he talks 1 to 3, he talks about the church, all about the church. And then when the judgments comes, there's no mention of the church whatsoever. And so if I talk to my post-tribulational friends about this, they go, I never thought about that. The church is missing. So a lot of those things is so critical to grasping the Bible. And regardless of what side you're on, it's just good to have that knowledge of why do people believe in the rapture? Why are they post-trib? Why are you pre-trib? Why are you post-millennial? It's very important. It's not something that you can just skate through and then just read another self-help book, and think that's Christianity. You can't, because the Apostle Paul is very clear that the scripture is breathed in by the Holy Spirit, and to not read it and not understand and not grasp it, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. So yeah, absolutely. That's how important Bible prophecy is.
So you recently made this very intriguing film, Interview with the Antichrist. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, Troy. By the way, it's put on YouTube for free, so anyone can watch it now for free. And we did it just because we can't mess around with that kind of stuff. And so now it's on YouTube. There's no subscription, any of that stuff. But it was intriguing. I was driving from Boise, Idaho to Sun Valley, and then my final stop was Bozeman, Montana, and I was doing fly fishing. And I thought, of course, about always having done an Antichrist movie, because I did 2 previous rapture movies. I did Gone, which was a really amazing film we did in 2002, and then I did Final the Rapture, which took us to 5 countries: Mexico, Japan, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Tokyo, Japan, and LA, Los Angeles, where we're from. And I wanted to do an Antichrist movie. And so I'm looking through my Audible, and I saw a title called Interview with the Antichrist. And I thought, wow, what a movie that would make. What a movie that would make. And I was cheering that this thing would go on. It's a totally different book. It's a book about a man meeting the Antichrist and everything. It's beautifully written and it's biblically correct. But I wanted to do a movie just on that interview. I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes, so to speak. And there's nothing wrong with it. And of course, you can't copyright a title. And I wanted to make sure that, because I want to do everything godly. And I'm a lawyer as well. So I wanted to make sure that titles are not copyrightable. And of course, they're not. You have 2 Bad Boys movies, Bad Boys with Will Smith, Bad Boys with Sean Penn. You can't copyright a title. But I wanted to make sure that, because you have to be godly. And so I did my own creation. I stopped fly fishing and I just went to the University of Boise and then later University of Montana. And I put in all of what I wanted to do with an Antichrist movie into the interview. And so it's a movie that doesn't have any pork or fat in it. It just gets right to the point. They come, they interview this guy, and what would it be like to actually interview the Antichrist in the 5th year of the tribulation or 6th year of the tribulation? And we went and auditioned actors in LA. We're very blessed to be in LA, where most of the world-class actors are. We got a Russian guy, and we got the interviewer Aaron, who's a good friend of mine, and was in Aaron Groban was in another film we did earlier called Journey to Hell, which is also you can watch for free online. And that film we took out into theaters this last fall, and it did very well. And we had a lot of people who wanted to distribute the film, do this and that. I said, no, let's just put it on YouTube for free. because we want to save people from hell. And so my investors really, they're so committed to the Great Commission. They said, we're not here to make money. Let's evangelize and get it in. But Journey to Hell, Troy, it reached 42 million people with the message that Jesus spoke of hell more than heaven. We were on billboards in LA. We were in billboards in Las Vegas. We were in billboards in Phoenix, Denver, Colorado Springs, Hawaii. We reached 42 million people through Google Ads, Google Trail. It was amazing. The message, and you would think, well, Google would definitely ban. That's the most woke statement in the world. Jesus spoke of hell more than heaven. We were on billboards on the 5 freeway south, and they put us on the most busiest corridor of the 5 south with the message, Jesus spoke of hell more than heaven. And it was just incredible how no one banned us. And it wasn't that they couldn't or didn't want to, because this is a very woke country that we're in right now, where freedom of speech is no longer, it is vastly deteriorating. But they didn't ban us. It was the Lord saying, no, you can't ban us. This is an important film, I believe. And so Journey to Hell, about a man who dreams he goes to a literal hell and wakes up a changed man for Christ. That film reached 42 million people, and it's now on YouTube to watch for free. We just put that on, and it's a strong message of hell as being real. So yeah, thanks, Troy. Yeah, so to go back to it succinctly, I said let's do this movie while I was driving from Boise to Montana, and I only did about an hour of fly fishing, which to me is incredible. Where the Lord said, no, I don't want you to do fly fishing. I want you to do this movie. And I ran back and got my laptop, and I spent the next 2 weeks writing the script at Boise State University and the University of Montana, and it was wonderful. And we shot that within the next 3 months. So very excited about all that God sometimes does. And when you hear it, his voice, the Bible's clear in many passages to when you hear his voice, act on it, and don't shuffle it to a corner. So that's what we did, and it turned out great.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Lord called you to be a fisher of men.
That's right. Thanks, Troy. I love fly fishing, and I picked it up about 10 years ago. And I fly fish in gold medal streams, Aspen, Vail, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana. And it's just wonderful being out there in nature and hearing the streams. And then I'm only a catch and release guy. I don't know how to cook at all. My wife knows how to cook, but I shame all men in that I can't even put a fish on the grill. So I just catch and release the fish. But it's a wonderful, absolutely beautiful to be with God in the streams, gold medal streams, and all by yourself. And you really think and you can create. We shot Journey to Hell, an interview with Antichrist, in 1 year. And I think that's only God. And that was during the height of the COVID. And no one wore a mask on my set. I didn't know. I said, you wear a mask, but I'm not judging those who do wear masks. It is important, and it did help. But I'm just not a mask guy. So
yeah, I remember I went fishing in, I think it was in Montana on the Snake River there. I caught like 3 fish fly fishing within a few minutes. It was amazing.
Oh, that's great, Troy. We're gonna have to go fly fishing together.
Oh, that'd be a blast.
The thing is now is they're so environmentally conscious that they only give you barbless hooks because they don't want to hurt the fish's mouth.
Oh, is that right?
And it's hard to catch a fish with a barbless hook, man. So, it defeats the whole purpose, but they're very concerned about, they don't want the hook to hurt the fish's mouth. But, like an interview with the Antichrist, when a third of the ocean turns to blood, I'd like to see their faces then, because they're so obsessed, like in the movie, about sharks. but yet we kill a billion tuna a year. I don't follow it. I guess tuna, they're not as cute as sharks, but the animal activists, there's sometimes they can be so silly. We kill cows, but we can't kill bears and mountain lions, the ones that attack our children. I have 2 children, but it's silly. It's silly. But I understand why, some people think that way, and I used to think that way when I was an atheist, but now I'm like, no, let's kill every shark in the ocean. I don't care if it's their habitat. The Lord's coming soon. He's going to annihilate sharks anyway. But they're so like, oh no, you can't, so a giant shark in Hawaii, where my wife and I also live, it killed a poor girl. And then they were like, oh no, don't touch that shark. Just let it go. So I'm so sorry. So that's the bottom line.
Yeah, we live in a world lacking common sense and often nonsensical now.
Yeah.
So as you made these films and you studied Bible prophecy, what do you see happening in the world? Do you believe that the world is being prepared for the actual Antichrist to arrive at some point here?
Yeah, I was just having a wonderful conversation, Troy, with a wonderful friend who's a biblical scholar. I mean, you should see his maps of end times prophecy, which is great. He thinks that the Antichrist is the French president. And I said, what are your thoughts on that? And he went through a whole litany of why he believes the Antichrist is the French president. It's interesting to see how, the biblical events are unfolding before our eyes. But absolutely, I believe that the events of COVID is something similar to what Jesus talked about with pestilence being everywhere, worldwide. I'm paraphrasing. The fact that there will be waves that will perplex the nations. And you don't need to know about that more than Florida. You're seeing this everywhere around the world. Do I believe the Antichrist is alive? I do. I think it's coming now to the end. I believe, he could come from Eastern Europe. I believe the Russian invasion of Ukraine fulfills Ezekiel 38, that Ukraine is Gog or Magog. You would know, Troy, but they're going to attack Israel. And I think it could happen either before the rapture or after the rapture. I think the fact that we're seeing such a severe drought, that yesterday's front page news on either Fox or Yahoo, I can't remember, said that an Arizona community is now completely without water. They've shut off the water because of the drought. And so when you look at the judgments in Revelation, famine is one of the judgments that they believe will be released in the first 3 years of the tribulation. Well, how does famine suddenly come out? It doesn't come, in a vacuum. Famine doesn't just suddenly hit. It comes through years of drought. And we're seeing that this drought, when we are raptured, and I'm strongly a pre-trib rapture guy. I don't know about you, Troy. Are you pre-trib or are you?
Oh yeah, I've always been pre-trib.
Oh, okay, good. So we know that the Lord doesn't destroy the righteous with the wicked, and I really feel that as His children, He will spare us from the tribulation coming across. So I don't believe the famine is going to hit until after the rapture, but it can be preparing for the famine before the rapture. And so we're seeing this drought. And again, the news coming out yesterday about an entire community in Phoenix or in the Arizona area is shocking. I think it's the first time in American history that they've shut the water off on a community of $500,000 homes. I mean, it's just unnerving. And they've said that, yeah, this is the first time because of the drought is so severe in Arizona. Well, California had a severe drought. We still do. But it is a very, very serious thing that's happening across the country. Not enough yet for God to inflict His wrath, I believe, but it's serious. So that's another indicator. And then just the state of our country, the mass murders. We've never seen this in American history. It started in 1999 with the Columbine High School. It was so shocking that these two precious kids were demonized. But when you look at the Idaho killer, he said something interesting. He said in one of his blogs that he felt like he was demonized, like a demon was on him. And a lot of these serial killers, mass shooters, they all say a demon spoke to them, a demon, and they are, and you can be possessed by a demon possibly. You can't, not as a Christian, because, what does light have with darkness? But you can be oppressed, but with them, I think they can be possessed and committing these horrendous acts. So you're seeing a godless world where, when Sue and I went to the movie theaters, it's just these movies like The Barbarian, about a guy who kills people on Airbnb, bodies, about all these bodies being murdered and everyone making jokes about it. It's desensitizing us to the violence of Hollywood. And it's really reshaping our country in ways that are just profound. It's the morality, the godlessness. And when Sue and we evangelize on the streets, it's a shame that the 18 to 25-year-olds, most of them that we speak to, Troy, almost 95% of these people we talk to, and when we evangelize in Waikiki, in Hawaii, which has a huge tourist area, as you know, from people all over the world. But the young people do not believe in God. And probably the best answer they give is they're agnostic. They don't know. They have a certain spirituality to them. So it is, we are coming to a point where I believe, the rapture is imminent. I don't take that lightly because, my wife and I, I'm happy to share this in public. I'm not sure about our daughter. And I've told her that, specifically, and we love her. She's living with a guy and she says she's a Christian. I'm like, my precious daughter, the Bible's clear about fornication. Those who continue, it's not a sin. It's a transgression. You sleep with, I can understand she sleeps one night, and I'm not even justifying that, but a transgression is very serious. And, the Bible addresses those who continue in it will not inherit the kingdom of God. I don't know what else to say, and it breaks my heart. So in a way, I don't want the rapture to happen. Because it's kind of, for me, it's like I don't want to see anyone left behind. But it's so horrendous, the age that we live in, that you look forward to the rapture, but your loved ones getting left behind, you sort of say, I don't know, man. It's a tough road. But you really hope that they come to Christ before the rapture. But God is so merciful. He's given everybody a chance. You look at the cuttlefish, Troy. You can Google this on YouTube. The cuttlefish changes its body to match a rock underneath the ocean, and they put the cuttlefish into a tank of water, and they had the flooring look like a checkerboard, and the cuttlefish turned into a checkerboard.
Wow!
And you go, oh yeah, that just happened with the Big Bang. It just happened with the Big Bang. You bite into a peach, a nectarine on a beautiful summer day, and you go, oh, that just came through the Big Bang. And every time you say that, you're dismissing God and you're dismissing His creation. And so, they've all had a chance, Paul. So, do I feel bad about our loved ones? Of course, we love our friends who don't know Jesus, and everyone needs Jesus. But I just think we're at the point of judgment there. I don't think there's going to be a mass, revival. I think it's just going to be judgment is the next step. So yeah, to answer your question, Troy, yes, I believe the Antichrist is alive, and who he is, we don't know, but you see everything coming together, and we have a president, in Biden, who's a little weak. He's a little weak, and I can see the Antichrist bullying him into doing this health thing for the whole world. I don't necessarily think he would have done that with Trump. So it's all part of the Bible prophecy that's coming together. It's exciting for those who are attuned to it. And so I believe the Antichrist is alive.
What do you think about this great reset plan that Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum has announced, and all these globalists are meeting in Davos and talking, this connection with the United Nations 2030 agenda, agenda plan, and climate change and sustainable development, all these sort of like woke kind of keywords they're using.
Yeah, Troy, and as you know, in the book of Daniel, it talks about this. It talks about and a lot of prophecy scholars like yourself, were thinking, well, the EC had 10 nations, whatever, 10 feet, and now it's gone on to more, but it's consolidating. It's consolidating. And I truly believe what you said, this great reset. And of course, I heard that, and this and the COVID-19 did not help us. It actually made them more bold. It emboldened them to use COVID as an excuse to, we have to be a world of peace. But the Bible's clear that peace and war will go hand in hand in the final days. People will say, we want peace, but war will continue on, and war will continue on without Jesus Christ as head until they get on their knees and proclaim King of Kings, Lord of Lords. There's not going to be any peace whatsoever. It's a man-made peace. It's a false peace. But America, it's not mentioned. And so I think when the rapture happens, because we are a Christian nation, we'll become an instant third world nation. And I believe that. And many pastors espouse that we'll be an instant third world nation. Pilots, doctors, nurses, pastors, truck drivers, school bus drivers, teachers, they're all going to vanish. And it's going to be an absolute horrific world to live in at that point. So yeah, I don't see America, the Antichrist, being American and coming from America. And they keep saying Bill Gates this, but I think it's going to come from Eastern Europe. And whether he's a Gentile or not, I'm not sure, but I don't see Israel allowing a Gentile to desecrate the temple or even being allowed into the temple. So I'm not sure whether the Antichrist is going to be Jewish or not. Paul, that's something for you and Troy, for you and Pastor Paul to decipher whether he's a homosexual. Well, Daniel's clear; he has no desire for women. I don't know. That again is, I leave that to the expert scholars, for you and Pastor Paul to wonderfully decipher. But yeah, it is a very scary thing, this great reset. They're all meeting in Davao, Switzerland, and they're all trying desperately to control our minds, control us. And it's been this way since COVID broke out in March of 2020. We've never seen this in this country, where they're trying to shut down the churches. And many will depart from the faith. I mean, the churches should stay open during the COVID. This is the time we needed the churches to step up, and they all shivered in fright over this left-wing Democrat government. So it's a very tragic thing what we're seeing in the world. But America is definitely the final bastion of freedom and peace. But that's going to be gone when the rapture happens, because there's a lot of good Christians in America. There's a minority of Christians. I studied in England, by the way, for a year. And I remember as an atheist, I went to just a Christmas Eve service with another friend, because I just said, that's an American tradition. And there was like 17 of us at the Canterbury Cathedral, 17 on Christmas Eve. And that place holds like 5,000. And I thought that's strange, but Christianity left England. That's very sad, because C.S. Lewis and Hudson Taylor and William Carey, some of the greatest Christian evangelist scholars, came from England and Germany as well. Martin Luther. It's left Europe completely. So it's leaving America, but not at the same rate as Europe. And so we have to pray that the Lord sends more workers into harvest fields into Europe. They keep saying, all these other countries, but all those other countries have been evangelized 100 times over. And people keep saying about North Korea. My grandfather was a pastor in North Korea, and he escaped the murderous killing of back then it was Kim Il-sung, and he killed 200,000 Christians. But Jerusalem was called the city of Jerusalem, was Pyongyang. It was called. That's how many Christians were in North Korea. So they've been evangelized. People saying, oh no, North Korea has been, no, they were evangelized before Japan, South Korea, It was an incredible Christian country. And then the murderous Kim Il-sung murdered 200,000 Christians. My grandfather made it out from some tanks, pretending to be a farmer, and made his way into South Korea during the Korean War. So, yeah, Pyongyang, North Korea was evangelized. Yeah, I hope I answered. I don't even remember your question, so I apologize for.
One I want to run by is so when I met Pastor Paul Begley at Hear the Watchman conference, and we became friends. We're both speaking, and then so he got a hold of me. I think it was in late 2021, and said he was reading the book Revelation, and all of a sudden he heard the Lord speak to him, Revelation 9:11. So he looked up that verse. It's one of those scriptures you just sort of gloss over. And I did the same thing. This whole chapter of Revelation 9, but it talks about this angel releasing the angel from the bottomless pit, the Apollyon and Abaddon, and it talks about this demonic horde that's unleashed, and they kill a third of humanity. I don't know if you've looked into Revelation 9 much, but it apparently happened at some point during the tribulation. What do you think about that?
Oh well, I mean, Revelation is an incredible book, and during those judgments, I think Revelation 9 is when they're releasing what, Troy, the trumpets or the yeah,
I think it's at the sixth or seventh trumpet or something like that.
Oh my goodness! Well, you don't even want to be around for the seals, but the trumpets, when they hit, it's going to be an incredible sight. But I'm gonna absolutely read Revelation 9:11 that you told me. I'm so excited. I know you and Pastor Paul are just the absolute stalwarts of revelation and prophecy. So it's exciting always listening to Pastor Paul. And I can't wait to buy your book on Amazon and read it, because I'm a voracious revelation prophecy man. And there's nothing else that brings me joy than to look at, the book of Revelation and how we're going to be spared from all of this that's coming onto the world. But it's a Christ rejecting world, Troy. And you walk out the door and you just even on the road, you're seeing just so much rage, and just anger and wrath towards everybody, and people tailgating you on the freeways, cars racing. It's happening every day. I didn't see this 20 years ago, even in LA. So, it's definitely coming to the end. And so I look forward to reading your book.
And just one last question. What word of encouragement would you give to people who would like to, take the opportunity they have, whatever time we got left, to share the gospel, share their testimonies, and help fulfill the Great Commission?
Oh, thanks, Troy. Well, the greatest verse I love is Hebrews 6:10, that says, God will not forget your work. He's not unjust. And I think to myself, that verse, okay, Hebrews 6:10, God will not forget your work. He's not unjust. What does that mean? Does work mean 9 to 5? I'm a driver for FedEx, which is a great job, by the way. They're doing so. I have nothing but respect for drivers. Does that mean God will not forget your work? I don't know, but I think the Great Commission is something that the Lord is dear to the Lord's heart. And it was the words before he ascended to heaven. He said to the disciples, go into all the world and preach the gospel. And I think that's what he means by work in Hebrews 6:10. He will not forget what you've done for the Great Commission. And if you're a FedEx driver, share it with 5 other FedEx drivers at work. Hey, Bob, I just want you, you're my good friend. You're okay with Jesus, right? You know Jesus, God. You can do it in ways that are hip and cool to this sort of, this generation. But there's no excuse. I think his heart is for evangelism and for the Great Commission. This is not a gift. It's an absolute commandment to go into all the world. And I can tell you, when I first started my film ministry, people said, how are you going to support your family, Tim? I don't know. And when I speak at conferences, sometimes I go to Christian actors conferences too. And they always ask me the same question. Actor goes, I want to be a Christian actor, Tim, but I worry about how God's going to provide for me. I'm like, why don't you have it reversed, brother? You have it reversed. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. And I've done 15 movies in 20 years, and God has come through in amazing ways to bless us financially. And I think it was because I didn't seek money first. I did not seek money at all first. And I still wear the same shoes I've worn. Money doesn't drive me. It doesn't make me excited. Buying a Tesla does not make me excited, even though I don't judge people with Teslas. But it doesn't excite me. It excites me to go into all the world and share the gospel. And my wife and I, if there's any excuse for us to watch movies, it's me, because I'm a film director. So, I should be watching every movie to see the latest camera move, right? But I remember when we were standing in line, and I don't share this to brag, because that's prideful. But when we were standing in line to buy movie tickets, I just turned to Sue and I just said, let's go evangelize. She said, yeah, what are we doing watching Star Wars? Let's go evangelize. And that's just our heart. And I'm of course not judging, because everything is permissible and everything is beneficial, the Bible says. So you can watch Star Wars. I'm not saying, anything about that. But I'm just saying that that's what Sue and I did. We didn't want to go and watch Star Wars. We wanted to go and back into Waikiki, evangelize and tell people about Jesus. And, when you do that, there's nothing greater on this planet. You feel clean, and you're not trying to get brownie points, Paul. We didn't like those guys who sat in the front, always raising their hand, trying to get an A from the teacher. That's not it at all. It's to thank the Lord for saving you, for being a sinner. And for me, I sinned the most, and God forgave me the most. That's why I love him the most. We started off this whole interview with, who was I before it? And I was a fornicator. I was a sinner. I hurt a lot of women. I hurt a lot of people, Paul, trying to get to the top as a film director for Universal Studios, my first film. And I hurt a lot of people along the way. So these are things that God is still checking me on, to, make restitution, to forgive, to, so that's, the bottom line is, when I do this evangelism, it's not to get brownie points from the Lord. It's to thank him for saving a wretch like me.
Well, it's a great honor to interview you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Paul. God bless you, brother.
Yeah, God bless you.
You too. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
In Revelation 9:1-1, Paul Begley and Troy Anderson boldly confront the pressing questions on many people's minds. Are we living in the end times? How do current events line up with biblical prophecies about the future? This book offers stunning and thought-provoking insights that connect passages from the book of Revelation to today's headlines. From the COVID-19 pandemic to artificial intelligence to UFOs, the authors examine how modern developments may be paving the way for the Antichrist and one-world government. This book will give you much to think about regarding the state of the world and the ultimate direction of history. Revelation 9:1-1 is a clear call to prepare spiritually for whatever lies ahead. An inspiring and encouraging quote from Pastor Jimmy Evans, founder of EndTimes.com and author of Tipping Point, "The end is here." Thank you, visionary Pastor Jimmy Evans, for your inspiring words. Join us as we embark on an illuminating journey into the prophetic with renowned Bible prophecy expert Pastor Paul Begley and the prolific Pulitzer Prize-nominated journalist Troy Anderson. Confront pressing questions of our time and discover hope for the future. Don't miss out. Order your copy of Revelation 9:1-1 now and prepare to be inspired, enlightened, and empowered. For more information, visit www.revelationwatchers.com and delve deeper into the insights awaiting you. Don't miss this opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of the book of Revelation and its impact on our world. Order Revelation 9:1-1 on Reginery Publishing, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target.com, Walmart, Books A Million, Hudson Booksellers, or most anywhere books are sold. And be part of the journey towards greater awareness, hope, and encouragement in the midst of challenging times. Additionally, prestigious bookstores like Harvard Bookstore and Book Soup in Hollywood carry the book. Take the next step in your exploration today.